Joey Aguilar threw 14 interceptions last year. You guys never have issues, any of your quarterbacks throwing picks. Why do you think Joey threw that many picks last year, and have you addressed it with him of any concerns?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that comes from what we can do here scheme-wise, getting him ready to go as far as fundamentals, eye placement, getting involved in our scheme. Because it's never just a plug and play with an older guy like that. A lot of people think you just drop a guy in and he's played so he knows how to do it. It's all going to be how does he go through this offense, how does he adjust to our fundamentals, the way we teach it, the way we use our eyes, the way we know our protections, and his ability to dive into that and his want to dive into that has been awesome. So don't foresee any issues there, but obviously that's why we're going into fall camp and we got to go see the actual proof of concept there.
Being in LA front row here.
Joey, what have you noticed about Joey's film study habits as he's gotten here and just kind of how he's gotten to work with his teammates and the chemistry, that aspect of himself as a leader?
Joey's been high end at that since he's gotten here. Ever since he got here in late May, he didn't start by starting where everyone else was. He went back and did every single spring install that our entire team went through. He did that on his own in about 4 days. Embraced it really well, went out and walked through it all on the field at a high level. Has been going through summer ball the same exact way, so there hasn't been any fall off there. And then he's done a great job of making sure that he gets around his teammates because he is new. Taking the O-line out to dinner, taking the wide receivers out to dinner, and him and Jake do that together a lot, actually. You'll see them all together out there and making sure that more than anything that this is a tight-knit unit and that whoever steps on the field for that first game is well earned it and has their teammates back.
There's so much youth on your side of the offense. Just have you seen any trouble with installs, and what's your take on the young talent?
I think we're a very talented young room. I do agree that there's not a lot of guys that have ton of time in this offense. We're very talented at the wide receiver position. It's why Coach Hype sets this up the way he does, though, where we go through pre-spring, get through all the installs that way. We go through spring ball, then you go through summer install. So by the time you get to fall camp, you're on your fourth time running through the offense. So now it's less about learning what to do, how to do it, and more about what's the way to actually go play this game at a high level. So the way we go through our off season has allowed our young guys and our new guys a chance to really step in and show what they can do and not be, slow out there on the field because they're wondering what they're supposed to do.
To the back with Rick then Payne.
Coach, I was going to ask you about Joey's integration into the program, but you kind of touched on that. Oh, back here, sorry.
There you go. Yeah.
You touched on that. But with a guy that's new to the program and two younger quarterbacks, how instrumental will the run game and that facet of the offense be helping to bring those guys along, especially here in fall camp?
Yeah, I think whenever you're introducing a new quarterback into the system, however it may be, the run game is always big time, and we've been able to run the ball at a high level here, with Dylan Sampson winning the Offensive Player of the Year in the SEC, led the SEC in rushing last year. It's something that since we've been here, we've decided to hang our hat on being able to run the ball at a high clip, so we don't see that taking any step back this year. And yeah, to your point, if you can run the ball at a high level, it makes a lot of other things a lot easier on the guy catching the snaps back there.
For Jake Merklinger, after the spring game, if there was a point where he could improve, it was maybe about protecting himself in space and then understanding defensive disguises and coverages. Have you been able to see any growth in maybe those departments leading up to fall camp?
Yeah, that's a lot of times young quarterbacks, the protecting themselves thing is you're running around in a red jersey and that red jersey comes off pretty quick. So that's just a thing for all young quarterbacks that like to run. He's a tough, competitive, smart kid. So he's not scared to put his body on the line for the team. He's going to need to do that in a smart way, just like any quarterback will, because in this conference, taking 15, 20 hits a game is not the way to play an entire season. But doing that, and then, it's just reps. For guys that haven't been here for a long time, and, I'm going to include him in that, he's been here for 1 year, it's just reps and reps, and when you're playing against a Tim Banks defense, you're seeing every structure of every front, of every background, of every coverage. So it's a really good learning tool for our guys. It's like swinging with a weighted bat playing against our defense all fall camp, that you see everything under the sun that you could imagine, and now you go into game week and you're like, all right, now it's reducing down to this is what we're expecting. So don't foresee any issues with him on that end.
Rob then Eric.
Coach, at quarterback, you played it and coached it a long time. When you have a wide open competition, how quickly, is there a sense of urgency to go from 3 to 2 to finding a starter? And are you totally adverse or open to having it drag into the season?
No, I think whenever you're going through a quarterback competition, the first thing is that the team, the full team, but mostly the offensive unit, has to understand that this is a true competition, and whoever steps on the field with them will have earned that job. So that's why you've never heard Coach Hype or myself saying, by this date, we'll announce a guy. Someone's got to take it. Someone's got to step up and take it and prove it, and there's multiple ways to do that. Obviously, as soon as you can get to that guy and let your guys start rallying behind one person and understanding their skill set and tailoring the offense to them, the better. But we can't be in a rush to do that, because if it doesn't present itself organically, then you're just going to be trying to put a square piece in a round hole.
Joey, you look up front, Lance Hurd, a lot of turnover there. He's your lone returning starter. What is your expectation for him, and how different is he now than he was maybe this time last year?
Yeah, the thing about Lance is he's shifted from learning the offense first time in it to being a guy that's extremely comfortable in it, and now he's just focusing on his style of play and getting to do all the little tricks and the trades of playing O-line at a high level in this conference. So we expect him to take a huge jump this year. He's a very talented young man. He's got the size, the foot speed, the length, everything that you want in a left tackle. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he takes the field this fall, completely healthy, ready to go, and take that game to the next level.
Ben and Casey.
For Ethan Davis and Chris Brazel, what do they need to do this camp to take the next step and maybe solidify their spot on the depth chart?
Yeah, I think both those guys you talk about are highly, highly talented young men. There's no doubt about that whenever you see them, even go through summer, winter workouts, the way they can move and run and jump. It's been about, the challenge has just been be consistent with it. You can't flash one day and then come back the next day. We got to be very comfortable when we put you on the field. What's the product we're going to get? So for those guys, it's been about being consistent. They've both put 2 really good off seasons together where we feel very confident with them going into fall camp.
Coach, you've said it, Heupel said it too, the need for one of the quarterbacks to prove themselves for you. What are you looking for to, have that confidence that you found your guy?
Yeah, first and foremost, you got to play this game in this offense with an aggressive nature. I think a lot of times the mistake quarterbacks make in a competition is they try not to lose it. They try just to not make a mistake. We want our guy to walk the line between being extremely aggressive but not reckless at all. Reckless is just throwing the ball up for grabs. Aggressive is driving a ball into a tight window. So we want our guy to be aggressive, we want him to be smart, and we want him to operate this offense. It's not just about who throws the football the furthest or the hardest. It's about who can operate this offense that when we take the field gives us a chance to win, whether that's them carrying the football, them getting to their checkdowns, them making big plays down the field. However it presents to that individual skill set, it's them doing that at an extremely high level to where we say that's the guy that gives us the best chance to be up +1 at the end of a ball game.
Sam, Carlos, and Brent.
Coach, going back to the run game, you talked about how you don't want to take a step back, right? Last summer we were talking about Dylan Sampson taking that role, obviously. He took that role very well. Now, what have you seen from Deshaun and Peyton that gives you confidence that they can take that load?
Yeah, and to your point, every year it's been, how are you going to replace this guy? How are you going to replace this guy? How are you going to replace this guy? It speaks to the scheme that we've put in place, but also how these young men work. We've got a lot of young talent in that room. Like, they've completely reshaped their bodies. They look like what they're supposed to look like taking the field. So we feel like whoever comes on the field for us at the running back position, and as you guys know, it typically hasn't just been one guy. There's been a main guy, but there's 2 or 3 guys playing every single ball game, that as a group, that team can go out there, and we don't expect the production in that running back room, not from one man, but from that running back room to take a step back at all.
Coach, with the launch of Vamos Vols, God has blessed us to be able to reach so many Latin American countries. But for our fans online and everywhere, is there a moment here in your time at Tennessee that you think captures the heart of Tennessee football?
The biggest thing that I can speak to, my mind went straight to it when you said it, was our first year here, or second year, excuse me, when we're having the quarterback competition. It's Hendon and Joe, and Joe wins the job. Hendon never takes a step back. He never pouts. He just keeps doing his thing. Joe gets injured. Hendon comes in, never looks back. Joe doesn't leave. Joe doesn't jump ship. He stays. He gets his opportunity, and then he goes and plays. And you got 2 guys that competed against each other for the starting job. They both took turns winning it. They're both still best friends, and they're both playing in the NFL. That is the culture. That is the locker room. That is the expectation of this program.
Joey, talking about that competition between Joe and Hendon, both those guys had been in competitions to win jobs when they competed with each other here. You now have a couple quarterbacks who have never been in a competition as young guys, and Joey. How do you manage this competition with guys who have never experienced something like this before? Is there any difference?
Yeah, in a way, I actually had that conversation this morning with the guys. It's how we're going to go about our business. We all need to be, there's not enough reps to go around that everybody can get every look they need. So we got to be able to talk about each other's reps. We got to be able to have conversations in the meeting room, and nobody's trying to cut the other guy down, and nobody's getting in their feelings about when we're talking about their rep, whether it be positive or negative. If we'll hold to that, and we'll go about our business understanding that we are going to compete fiercely amongst each other, but the team is still first, then we'll be in a really good spot coming out of fall camp. But to your point, there's two guys that haven't done it, and they got to go and, you've heard Coach Hype say it for almost a year now, the young guys don't have time to be young. It's very true in that room. You have to handle your business with a maturity like a professional when you step in this building, not just on the field, but in that meeting room as well with the guys, that we have the main goal in mind. Yeah, I'm trying to get on the field, but the team is of the primary importance.
Vince?
Coach, what are some of the key things, ingredients, and how you guys can maybe get more explosive plays offensively this year?
That's been the entire focus of the offseason is when people are playing really, really soft, dropping 8 in coverage, how do we keep being explosive in the passing game? And that's why, once again, we ran the ball the way we did last year, but it's not going to be that we're going to just say that that's par for the course now. The entire focus of this offseason is how do we get our playmakers in space with the ball in their hand where they can run and do what we've recruited them here to do. So feel like we've made some changes. We've done some things differently, but we're never going to lose sight of who we are, which is to be extremely aggressive with how we call it, to push the tempo, to make people play in space. But what are the one or two little different things that we can do that help free people up? And when people are playing really, really soft and saying, all right, you're not going over the top today, what are we going to do to attack that and not let them set the directive of the game?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. We'll have players here in